What's up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? To your buddy Big John and G, the two-gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming. Yeah, oh yeah. So the unboxing is pretty hot. The setup, you know, you would think something big like this would have been a little bit more difficult. But you saw it really wasn't. And remember, I spent a lot of time talking my way through it. So if I didn't do that, the setup time would be like half. But now that you know how to set it up, I'm sure you're itching to know exactly how to play Secret Unknown Stuff, Escape from Dulce by Sentient Cow Games. Well, why don't I show you? I'll see you all down at the table. Oh, that's right, my fellow nerds and nerdettes. I have been so excited about this game, and I think you can all tell. And as you know, I'm pretty excited about tabletop adventuring to begin with. So this really takes me up another level. All right, so before I get into the actual how to play, I'm going to take a moment here in the beginning, give a quick overview of the game, and then I'm going to talk about components and cards. So this way, while I'm talking about the rules of the game and turn by turn and what's going on during the turn, the phases, you'll understand a little bit better, I think, while I'm talking about that, instead of taking the time to discuss it then in the middle of while I'm talking about the rules. All right, so bear with me, everyone. Shrouded in conspiracy and myth, Dulce Base is an alleged secret alien underground facility located inside the Archuleta Mesa near the town of Dulce, New Mexico. However, it's a very real place, and currently being used as a biogenetics laboratory for the study of cloning, atomic manipulation, advanced mind control applications, sinister hybridization studies, and ways to make ketchup pour faster. These horrible tests are being conducted on abducted citizens and lab animals, producing nightmarish results. You find yourselves prisoners at the bottom of the base, and after a cryopod malfunction, you must now escape from Dulce! Yeah, that's pretty cool, actually. And great cast of characters to choose from as well. There are two types of campaigns, and trust me, any mode, any version, any type style that you are playing of this game is going to be darn fun. But the campaigns, that's where the real heart beats in this game. And there are two different types that you can play. There's the short campaign. Should last you 2 to 3 hours. If it's your first campaign, you might want to tackle on another hour and a half on that, maybe. You'll also notice a difference here. If you look at the picture here, you'll notice that the levels are numbered and lettered. 1B, 2B, 3B. Yeah, you see that. Well, remember that, because the other style of campaign you can play is the epic style of campaign, which will run you 4 or 5 hours. Fun hours. The kind of hours that you're not going to notice go by. But as I just pointed out for the short campaign, if you notice here, the epic campaign does not have the letter B on it. Remember that there are two sides, a B and a non-lettered side, for each of the levels, each of the tiers. So the epic campaign will be using just the numeric, and the short campaign will be using the numeric alphabetical. Yeah, number level. Now, on both of those map setups, you may have noticed little icons, little squarish icons, alien head and question mark. Well, those are objective tokens. And that's something else I think I would like to tell you before we get into how to play the game. The main type of objective tokens, now they all have the question mark on the back. But the main type are the computer terminal. Now this is a very important one because you can't activate the portal until you have found the computer terminal. Which brings us to the next objective token, the portal. Now, the portal is a little bit different from the others because that's a big number. And that number corresponds to the floor. So that one does look different from the others. You may have noticed the little chests. They are supply caches. Now, this is where you start getting your gear and loot from as you're going through the game. Because the player that gets to enter the room will draw 2 cards from the loot deck and gets to keep both of them during the search a room phase. And we'll get to that later. That's just a quick overview of how that works. Now, another one of the objective tokens, the little tube, is a cryopod. Now, you can use this in a couple of ways. You can use it to heal if you have someone that's hurt and injured on your team. You can use that as a healing device. But you're also going to want to keep some of these around because you can use them to create a clone. So if Snippy Von Bell becomes chopped meat, you can always go to the cryopod if you still have one around and get a new Snippy, as long as you have some of those tokens left. Now, the other one was a big alien head. In fact, it's the only one that didn't show the question mark. And these are the spawn points. These aren't tokens that you're going to be flipping over and discovering what they are. They're just there to show you where any additional enemies that you may incur, it shows where that they will appear from. Now, let's take a look at the encounter cards, because this really drives the game. Now, up in the top left corner, you're going to see a Roman numeral. In this case, it's a Roman numeral 1. Now, this is important because on the game boards, each of the tiers, the rooms on each tiers will have a Roman numeral on them, such as the base level 6, the basement level, has a drawer from the first deck, and you get up to the 5th and the 4th level, and their number would be 2. The 3rd level would be 3, and the 2nd and 1st level would be 4. So this is the encounter act. So whenever you enter a room, you're going to be drawing a card from this deck, and you will draw it from the appropriate number. Always make sure that you're drawing from the deck that the room number on the board you're on is telling you to draw from. Now, underneath that, you see the story. This is what's going on in the room. You read the card, and it gives you a sort of little teleplay of what just happened. Such in this case, you stumble across several dead bodies in various stages of decomposition. You feel relieved that it's not you. But upon closer inspection, it is you. What? The horror! Now, right below that in the shaded area is the modifier, which in this case says, these are clones from a previous escape attempt. Upon successfully beating encounter, the person with the lowest health may take a clone with gear card from the deck or add one more shared clone. And then the lowest half of the card, enemy encounter, this is where you're going to find information pertaining to the alarm level, the number of players, and the XP, your experience that will be won. So you see each of the columns. First, it's 2 players, then 3 or 4 players, and then 5 players. And each of those columns has a green, a yellow, and a red area. So this pertains to the number of players versus the alarm level. So in this case, if it is a 3-player game, and the alarm is at yellow. The encounter in this room would be 1 guard and 1 robot. At the bottom, you'll find how much XP is earned. Depending on the alarm level, green, yellow, or red, you will get 2, 3, or 4 experience. Flat experience. In case of experience, also keep in mind that each player is going to receive 1 XP for each enemy that they individually kill. And everyone in the party is going to receive 5 experience if a commander is killed. The dreaded alarm level. This is your real enemy in the game, and you should understand how it works. So now, every time you're going to draw one of those encounter cards I just showed you, you're going to raise the alarm level by 1. Just enter the room, had to draw a card. There you go. Oh, I was successful, but we just had to do that again. It's going to keep going up. Like a slow tick-tock, my friends. And it's going to be beating at the back of your brain as you watch it slowly. Almost like watching a lobster boil alive. Now, while the man in black figure, because yes, that's what you're going to use to track what's going on. As long as the man in black is still in the green area, you can consider that everything is secure. There's no real alarm raised. No one is suspicious. Shh. Now, as you continue to play, the man in black eventually gets to the yellow. Well, at that point, it's an alert. The base is on alert. It's a mild alert, you could say, if there is such a thing. Now, during this time, your encounters will be becoming harder, as you saw from the encounter card. But there's also a possibility of wandering patrols and reinforcements coming in during this alarm level. You're going to roll one of the red stat check dice. This is how you're going to determine random encounters. If you roll a 6, then you find a patrol. To determine the amount and the type of enemies, you're going to take the last encounter card you drew from the discard pile and use the green section in the column for the number of players you have. And now, when things track into the red, that's not good. That's high alert. Now, the rules don't specifically say that it's high alert, but that's what I call it. When you get into the red, my friends, that is high alert. At this point, a squad of reinforcements appear at the nearest spawn point to the most players. So if your group is divided, then the number of rooms that separates the largest group of players to the spawn point is where the squad is going to show up. Keep in mind that on level 6, no reinforcements will show up. To find the number of spawns and what type they are, look at the green alarm level at the bottom of the encounter card that you just drew. Always base the spawned enemies on green, and always factor in the number of players. These spawned enemies are in addition to the normal encounters that you have been having, or are currently involved with. Yeah, you see that, don't you? You see that? You see that last space that the man in black gets to occupy? The man in black, oh, if he gets up to the black spot. Talk about curse of the black spot, my friends. Alright, now, if this is what happens, my friends, then stuff has hit the fan big time. Because the man in black is immediately going to appear at the spawn point of the level that the party members are at. Now, if you manage to defeat him, remember each player is going to get 5 XP, but also, if you defeat him, it's going to go all the way back down to the lowest green. If it gets back up to black, he's going to spawn. Every single time it gets to black, he will spawn. Enemy cards are something you're going to need to know too, because you're going to be seeing them a lot. I mean a lot. So the enemy cards, if you notice, there are some similarities between these and the file folders, the characters that you saw in our last video for setting up the game. There are some similarities. Starting up in the top left corner will be the name, such in this case, the Lizardmen or the Robot Guard. Right underneath that, though, also on the left, you're going to notice a number, such as the 6 under the Lizardman card here, or a 7 underneath the Robot Guard. All of the enemies in this game that are not commanders are numbered 1 through 7. This is marked on the individual cards as well as the... Hold it. This is also marked on the standees. So if you drew this Lizardman card, this would be the appropriate standee to use in the game. Now, one of the purposes for this is because of what you see on the right-hand side. You see the attack styles. The different cards all have different attack styles. So each time you face a Lizardman or a Robot Guard, there's going to be differences. Their attacks are going to concentrate on something different than the last Robot Guard's attack concentrated on. Above that, you're going to see 3 circles. The first one is the initiative. In this case, the Lizardmen are 5 and the Robot Guard is 7. You're going to notice the importance of that during combat when you see how the combat tracker works. Now, the 2 next to that, the 2 green ones that you see there, are speed and accuracy. So just like the player sheets, speed is basically how many actions that you're going to get a turn, or in this case, how many actions they're going to get a turn. 2 for the Lizardmen and 3 for the Robot Guard. And the other green one is accuracy. So this is going to help determine combat. The Lizardmen have a 2, and the Robot Guard a 3. Now, sometimes, such as with the Robot Guard, the first attack, the laser pistol, you will notice that next to the die icon that you would roll, it also has a +1 shield. That means that this attack will do 1 damage to armor. And that's going to slowly eat away armor defense. Now, speaking of armor, if you look all the way down at the bottom, you will see that they both have a green bar, while the robot has blue at the end as well. The green is health, and you're going to use the little clips to keep track of their health, just like you do on the player sheets. Unless a card or an effect in play or something I haven't come across yet states otherwise, enemies will always start at their max stats. So the health for the Lizardmen at the beginning of combat would be 5. The Robot Guard would have 6 health and 3 armor at the beginning of combat. you've probably already noticed by looking at the robot guard that below the picture but above the health bar, there is a little tag that says immune to psi attacks. Some cards you encounter will have these little add-ons, these little notes, and just follow exactly what they say. So to figure out the player's initiative, you're going to look at your character sheet and the speed, in this case for Dr. Donna, the speed of 2, and you're going to take one of your stat check dice, the red ones, and you add them together. Dr. Donna has a 6. So you'll take her initiative tracker and you place it on the 6 mark. Now let's say she was running around here with the Smith family. You would do the same thing to figure out where their token is going to go on the field. The Smith family also has a speed of 2 with a 1, so the Smith family, they're probably bickering with themselves, has an initiative of 3. If you were in a room and you had, let's say, a lizard man and 2 grays. Let's say that's what you had. Lizard man number 4. So you would go through your lizard man stack and you would find the matching number for lizard man. The lizard man, wow. The lizard man has a whopping 7 for its initiative. So that was number 4. So you would take number 4 and you would put it on the 7. Now the aliens have an initiative of 9 and 4. And that was 5 and 6. 5 with the 9. Wow. Number 6 with the 4. And there you have it. That is keeping track of your initiative. Highest initiative going first to the gray aliens with the plasma pistol, probe, and probe attack. Ugh, that sounds messy. Now, when figuring out initiative, if there is a tie between the players will get to decide who they think or who they want to go first, and then second. First and second. If there is a tie between a player and an enemy, the player goes first. Now, taking a look at the combat tracker board, you'll notice that there is enough space for 5 enemy cards. Fear not, because if you, for some cursed reason, ever find yourself having to face off with 6 or more, just keep putting down, man. Don't let this limit you. Don't worry. This is not here to limit you. At that point, this just becomes a guide. Just follow it straight down. Or wherever you have room on the table. Maybe over here, wherever. Just keep those cards coming out. Now, I'm not going to jump right into the intricacies of how combat works at the moment, because combat is actually part of the gameplay phase. And since I showed you how the combat tracker works, I think that's enough to hold you over until we get to it. organically. It'll get to it at its point, at its time. And that time is coming up. Because it's time to start talking about gameplay. Alright, now dig this. There are 11 parts, 11 phases to gameplay. The first thing that you're going to do is to decide who goes into the room first. After choosing a party member to go in first and having that character spend an action to move into the room, you're going to draw an encounter card. And this particular encounter card reads, "This room is filled with caged lab animals that will be launched into space. One of the empty cages has a plaque on it that reads, 'J. Fix It.' A monitor suddenly flickers to life. On its snowy screen is a chimp in a spacesuit. He says, 'We'll help you escape, but only if you free the 4 animals.'" And don't forget what I said earlier. Since you drew an encounter card, the alarm level is going to go up 1. Then we're going to reveal what the objective token is. In this case, it's a cache. It's loot. After flipping it over, you're going to leave it like that for now. Next, you're going to resolve the scenario, if any, on the encounter card. So if this was a 2-player game with Snippy and the Smith family, and they are currently, as you saw on the red alarm, that would mean 4 gray aliens and 1 mutant shows up. That's a pretty tight squeeze for that little room. As we looked at earlier with the components, you're going to set up everyone's initiative on the combat tracker. Now in this case, the Smith family, with a total of 8, will attack before one of the gray aliens, also on 8. 2 of the aliens will attack on 7, Snippy will attack on 6, and 1 final gray alien will attack on 5. But let's not forget about our mutant. Bam! Mutant Hound number 7 with an initiative of 9. Woo! This is gonna be a bloody mess. You're gonna declare your target. Then you're gonna take that red skull-filled stat check die, and you're gonna give it a roll. 6. You're going to compare this roll to your accuracy score. You need to match your score or come under it in order for this to be a hit. If you had rolled a 1, then that would be a crit hit. If you did succeed in hitting, you will then roll the appropriate weapon dice. Melee weapons are the white dice. There are 4 results of a 1, 1 result of a 2, and 1 result of a 3. There are 2 green sets of dice, the pistols and the rifle shotguns. They both have the same amount of damage. 1 side with a 1, 3 sides with a 2, 1 side with a 3, and 1 side with a 4. The difference comes in with the rifles and shotguns. First, the rifle and shotguns usually tend to give you more of the green dice to roll, and also the shotgun will allow you to damage target's armor if they're in the same room. Both categories will allow you to shoot a target in an adjacent area. They will also allow you to attack a target in the same area, while melee weapons will only allow you to target in your own area. The two 8-sided dice, blue and gray. The blue are the alien weapons, and 2 of the sides have 1, 3 of the sides have 2, 2 of the sides have 3, and 1 of the sides has 4. As with the pistols and the rifle shotguns, alien weapons, unless it says otherwise, will allow you to target someone in the same area or an adjacent area. And in most cases, they also do some nice damage to armor. The gray experimental 8-sided dice have 2 that are blank, 2 that are 1, 2 that are 2, 1 that is 3, and 1 that is 4. These can end up doing a lot of damage, especially since in many cases you get 2 or 3 of these dice to roll. Many of these will also do armor damage. While quite obviously the players are intended to and fully encouraged to attack as they see fit and use their own tactics, remember, as we discussed with the card anatomy earlier in the video, that each of the enemies has their own attack pattern set up on the right of the card. Combat will continue following in initiative order until the players run out of clones and 1 dies. Yes, it only takes the death of 1 party member with no clones left, making it permanent, to end the game with the players losing. Combat will also end when all of the enemies are soundly, completely, and utterly defeated. At that point, XP will be handed out to the players at the end of combat. Don't forget that besides the XP individually handed out for each of the kills, don't forget to hand out experience as well for the encounter. For this encounter, the party will have received 5 experience each. 5 experience each for dealing with this red threat. Remember that nice little loot crate? Well, the player that entered the room will be able to draw 2 loot cards during this search phase and keep them both! So the player that entered, in this case Snippy Von Bell, because of the loot crate, would be able to draw 2 cards during the search phase. And how lucky is Snippy that Snippy found 2 rolls of duct tape, used to repair 3 armor. And this can come in handy, especially later in the game like it is now. In order to conduct a search, you're going to have to make a check. You're going to have to make a check against your mental stat. In this case, Snippy started with 3 this late in the game, has another 2 maxed out to 5. 6, the only thing that Snippy would fail on. Anything other than a 6, 5 or under to match the mental score would be a pass. If it wasn't Snippy, if the Smith family had looted, it would be the same for them, a roll, but then If the Smith family had decided to do the search, it would be the same. They would roll one of the 6. Nothing. But if it had been anything else than a 6, because they have theirs, let's say, maxed out to 5 as well, they are blind as a bat for literally 4 sets of eyes. There we go. There we go. So then they would just draw 1 card because they were not the first player in and they did not find the loot. They did not find the cache of loot. In this case, they found something that they can't really use themselves, but it can always be traded to other party members, and that's this superior alien psi armor. Ooh, nice. Grants you 4 armor, an upgraded version of the mental force field, immune to psi attacks except ones by the man in black. Ooh. So then, at this point, with the room cleared and searched, as they can only be searched once, you'll put the search token down to represent that this has been searched, and you'll remove the counter. At this point now, players have the opportunity to trade items between themselves. If you have something new to equip, or something someone else needs, and you're then able to trade it off to them, this is the time to do it. Because after this, everything starts all over again, and someone has to be chosen to decide to go into the next room first. One last thing I'd like to point out is that besides playing the campaigns, there are also special missions. And you could play these as one-shot games. Some of them, like Egg Hunt, could last as short as 30 minutes. You could kill that in a half hour. Others, like Cabin Crawl, could take an hour and a half or more. But they're one-shot, they're not part of a bigger campaign. You could kill them in one sitting. This game really does deliver a lot as far as gameplay goes. Amazing replayability, and so many different diverse areas to play in, missions to take on. And the series is ever growing. They have already a 2-in-1 mission pack, and you'll see us talking about that probably next week. Anyway, my friends, that is how to play Escape from Dulce, the first part in the trilogy of secret, unknown stuff. Yes, my friends, thank you so much. I want to say thank you, a great big shout out to everyone out there who has been following us on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. It is so very cool that you go over there and you see what we're doing. Sometimes we have to go over there and see what we're doing because we don't know ourselves. A great big shout out, thank you so much, great big shout out to everyone that has gone over to the official Two Gun Pixie Zazzle store and checked out some of the nerdy tabletop RPG inspired t-shirts, hats, mugs that we have going on over there. And of course, none of this would be happening if it wasn't for right here. You, me, right here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching our videos. Thank you for subscribing to the channel, for commenting and liking what you see. And of course, thank you so much. Please keep sharing our videos. That's the greatest way to tell you that you liked what you saw. So I'm your buddy Big Johnny G for Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming, and